We've discussed why some groups work with various illegal groups or create illegal groups to do things. The front is a two-part answer, though, and we need to see why someone with a ton of money would want it to be laundered. Yes, illegal is part of it, but there can be other reasons, and it is best we explain these to help explain how a money laundering scheme works. Sometimes people want to stay out of the limelight and live their lives. This is actually where the investor everyone thinks about comes from. They have so much money that losing or making it off a single company doesn't bother them. If it works out, they know they have more money to use, and if it doesn't, they can drop it quickly and move on to something else. We like to think about how rich some people are, but this is a facade. In the Reddit group Shower Thoughts, someone brought up how Gucci uses the symbol of richness as a way to get people to make themselves look rich. In reality, most rich people do not wear clothes with labels, and often don't appear as rich unless you know what you are looking for. This creates a network of people who want to buy and sell goods without a lot of notice. This can be clothes, cars, to even whole companies. Being able to just buy what you want, when you want, means this network has to be good and usable at any time. I don't think you realize how much money is involved either. Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and others who are publicly wealthy are nothing to the private ownership world. There are people who make these businessmen look poor in comparison. This is actually how Bruce Wayne is Batman. He has enough money that his network works for him. He keeps up the appearance of someone super wealthy who buys stupid things as a way to keep his cover of what he is actually buying and dealing with. The only people able to find out would also need to have access to this network and appear to be well within it. They know the telltale signs like hand-stitched clothing and perfect silk shirts. James Bond is specifically a spy in this network. His entire job is to track down the people using the networks for power and stop them. So the idea that people with enough money just to start a company on a whim is a real thing. I've met some folks like this, and often the reason why they do this is a tax write-off. They have several $100 million in the bank and anything they want. Now they can start expensive hobbies, which can include businesses. The entire point is that the business started is a tax write-off for the person. All of those engineers, techies, accountants, and others are a part of things that won't be taxed by this super rich guy. Then they also get to make and build something they really want. The big thing is to have a small client base, so money is being made, but not so much that an IRS agent cares. The basic goal is to keep it within profit-making status, or enough in the red that it doesn't hurt your lifestyle. As soon as it starts to go beyond the desires of the founder, the sooner it is sold off to someone else with rich pockets or investors. If you are rich, some of the things you do are not allowed in certain countries you live in. So you need a method of using that money without showing you broke the law. This means use of the network created to buy items and businesses to move money into the country. This is usually done using fronts like businesses and random items. The only way to really notice is when the item is being sold for an incredible amount, even though the quality isn't the greatest. A hair scrunchie for $500? Sure, why not? It costs all of $1 to make and sell, but the money appears to be going through this business just fine. It gets kind of hilarious at this point, because I've met folks who didn't realize this and bought the scrunchie thinking it would mark them as rich. They made sure everyone saw the $500 item that is worth nothing to anyone. It is illegal to influence governments and businesses. This is a known thing in several countries, but many figure out ways to work around that. You want something done, and the network won't happen unless specific things and politicians let you do this. So, influence is bought using fake items. The politician wrote a book which no one read, and yet it sold millions to some unknown buyer. The same politician has a speaking tour where they demand 6 to 10 digits per person to sit and listen to them talk for a few minutes. These sound insane, and yet we see it all the time. These influence networks are used as a way to let things happen that would normally be impossible. I have seen this style of influence within game creator culture. Someone with a bit of knowledge gets money from a major video game company. They work from dingy offices and have parties to impress the smaller companies making games and to help them get some important eyes to look at games. The reality is, they have a dingy-looking office that costs a lot of money to use. Very likely, the game costs somewhere around $2 to $3 million to make. The entire appearance and act is to make this small company an influencer for the smaller indie game scene, which the investing company uses to control. Other big companies are allowed to be at the parties and displays, but the company will talk up, say, Sony or Microsoft, as the best answer for whatever is happening. You may be remembering an earlier video where I talked about governments influencing the pop culture around them, and have questions. The answer is yes, they do the same things, and often the companies involved use it as a way to get the money out of the original country so they can use it without scrutiny. In return, the governments of the country gains influence in markets and people they wouldn't ordinarily be able to. What's interesting about this is how much the wealthy, privately rich tend to act and move just like these governments, so it's often hard to tell which is which. Another great reason for the odd front is indirect sales. Video games are often part of this. It has a niche fan base, a network that can use for whatever reason they want, and difficulty finding out any real sales numbers. It is also an international market, meaning you can sell a Sega Genesis in Europe, the US, Argentina, Brazil, and China without anyone really caring what is happening. We worry about the big sales war between the companies, but don't realize how weird the sales numbers look. Don't believe me? Then let's check. Here's the Sega Genesis Wikipedia page. Numbers should be official enough that we can go, oh yeah, that's it. And it sold about 31 million units. Let's add in 1.5 million from Majesco and say it was 33 million. This is impressive compared to Super Nintendo's 45 million. Now let's look at its top-selling games. Notice a precipitous drop? And how almost everything seems to be selling closer to 1 million? That's because the console itself wasn't actually sold to play games, but to be used for influence and other money laundering schemes. It got so bad that in the 90s, Congress called Sega of America into a hearing. In the public, it was about how the company was selling adult games to younger kids. Behind closed doors, they were being told to stop making money laundering so obvious. The game sales and console sales dropped, and Sega couldn't seem to rise up again after that. There is another angle here, and it should be brought up. Video games are also a great way to improve and test equipment without people really noticing it. The equipment inside of the machine is rarely looked at, even by fans, and how it could be used for something else. Case in point, 3D graphics were mainly a military thing for decades. Although video games used them, the best additions were always for things like computer simulations and other active systems. When Nintendo wanted their Nintendo 64 to use 3D real-time graphics, the only people to talk to were military simulation companies. In fact, the game Pilotwings was created by one of these companies. Nintendo didn't hide this and were fairly public on why they were going this way. The company actually split up and let the video game branch go off on its own, while the military simulation company continued to quietly do its job. But it goes in reverse as well. Military and government agencies prefer tested and proven items to buy. This is how a Sony PlayStation part ended up on a mission to Pluto for NASA. The years of testing and proving it could work was enough to have a modified version made and put on a spacecraft. Any questions you might have after this point is probably best for me to shrug my shoulders at. My knees are wonderful and I like them the way they are right now. Not all fronts are for illegal gains, but for influence and maybe a tax write-off. The entire thing is dependent on a network. Very few will ever really see. It can seem very powerful and scary at times, knowing this network of people richer than rich exist. However, the influence is not as fast as a meme or 4chaner doing something. I think a lot of what we see today is the old network trying to take on the new one. Who will win? I guess we'll see. For now, though, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit up some of my other accounts. I've been asked why I don't upload these videos to other networks, and the answer is, my phone won't let me. So if you've uploaded, just send me a link and I will make sure to add that account to my other accounts list. Also, if you follow my Patreon, I will post this script I used to make this video. Make sure to check out the videos I used as well. They have some good content and I wouldn't be as entertaining without them. Have a good one! Great. Now I want a James Bond and Batman team up. Just think about it. Them using their networks to take each other on. Then, meeting up and going, okay, let's take down the Joker. It would be awesome. Let's be honest here. Come on, get on with it. Come on. Circle round, beastie. Come on, you bastard.